And that's the negative path. That is the
Mm.
what many call the dark side of advancing into what they call human 3.0. Well, I'm
Mm.
proposing a different version of human 3.0 through the activation of dormant DNA, because we're only using 4% of our full genetic material, which means that the other 96% is untapped potential. And I've come to discover that only within the 4% we're using carbon based genetics. The other 96% contains our crystalline genetics, our silica, not silicon, our silica genetics, which is an advanced version of crystalline, and of course our hydroplasmic genetics, which are structures that are still connected to the universal consciousness of the one infinite creator via our soul and spirit. So that is the different path. That is the organic ascension. And a lot of the people that are on the earth, not a lot, but a great number of us are um, leaning, we're leaning towards that. We're not accepting this transhumanist agenda at all. And yeah, so there's going to be we're definitely at the precipice where the old concept of the Homo sapiens sapiens as we know them is coming to an end. And
Yes.
after 2030, I guarantee you that you're either going to have cyborgs or you're going to have superhumans, humans like angels, angelic humans, angels, humans with supernatural abilities without the integrating with technology.
Now, this is a profound statement, and many people who will watch today or watch in the future will think, are these people crazy, or is this food for thought for coming forward? But as you said, we're heading towards some form of technological singularity. And 2030 pretty much has been based now with the urgency coming from the globalists through, first of all, the pandemic treaty, which is looking forward to next year to moving ahead. Mind you, for people watching, you can check out my interview yesterday with James Roguski. There has been a bit of a setback for the globalists, and you can check that interview out on World Series News, and it's good news for many of us who are watching on. But of course, that's not the only part. You've got the World Economic Forum leading through digital ID and central bank digital currency, and it's kind of obvious now. And here in Australia, Ishmael, you're not going to believe this, but of our big five banks, the Commonwealth Bank came out yesterday after declaring some multi-billion-dollar profit that ATMs are no longer sustainable for the poor old bank. They can't keep it going so you can withdraw cash anymore. So we're going down this pathway where we're being manipulated once again to a pre-approved endpoint, that the cashless society. So we're already seeing that whoever's playing along already knows what the agenda is. So it's quite clear. I guess the question is, do we get to 2030 and a proportion of citizens will already be microchipped one way or another, whatever the technology is at that point, and then there'll be the rest that say simply, well, either biblically, I'm not taking the mark of the beast, or through other spiritual connection, I know that that's not the pathway, or is there a third narrative again, and that would perhaps be that Trump himself gets himself re-elected, RFK Jr., I maintain, will run independent and join Trump as his Attorney General? That's my theory that I put out there, and that will result in a big cleanup. Could this be the block that perhaps splits humanity, and it's not as obvious as a mark of the beast scenario? Have you given any consideration to the steps that take place from where we are today to when we get to that singularity in the future, what a pathway may be?
Yeah, well, there are an infinite number of parallel realities. We have to start perceiving our reality from a quantum model perspective rather than a Newtonian model, because if the Newtonian aspect is outdated, there is a reason why a lot of movies are introducing the concept of the multiverse, of
Mm-hmm.
alternative Earths. So, with that in mind, we could see that there are, different alternative Earths in in a spectrum, where to the far left you have the negative alternative Earths, which is globalization, hooking everybody to the board, taking away freedoms, implementing the global digital currency, um, putting everybody in smart cities, right? The ultimate, you know, dystopia.